It's been a long time. Come on. Yeah. Hey, yo, it's my life, my time, my rights, my rhymes, my grind, my struggle, hustle, sweat in my blood too. A predator smells fear, I smell a lot. My competitors fled scared, they smelled I was hot. I want it all. Excess, the sex, and much success. Stress us, I want it all, no less. So come on.
Hello everyone, my name is Putty and welcome back to another edition of Tuesday Night SmackDown. Before we get started today, Tucker, tell the people about the votes.
The Slammy votes? Or the U.S. election votes?
Whichever draws to you more.
Okay, so for whatever reason, like I don't know the entire story about it, but like all I know is people keep throwing around that there were like 3 million illegal votes. Like that just seems like bullshit to me. Like
well, if I saw it on Fox and Friends.
So it must be real.
So it must be true.
Must be real.
That's the best news reporting.
That is totally unbiased, untainted.
Unbiased. It's the only real news. The rest is fake news.
Exactly. The only real news.
Sad. So much fake news going on right now.
I know.
So sad.
They're
trying to cover up this terrorist incident that happened in Stockholm last Friday.
Yeah, they're trying to cover up the fact that Obama was the leader of ISIS all along.
All along. He funded, started, and led ISIS. He is ISIS.
He is ISIS.
He is to ISIS what Sami Zayn is to SmackDown. Speaking of Sami Zayn, he's up for a couple of awards in this year's Slammies. How can people vote on those, Tucker?
You can go to my Twitter and vote on those.
All of the awards should be up by now, including the Category B awards, which includes the Lifetime Achievement Award for the Fuck You Fans?
Yes, the Fuck You Fans Lifetime Achievement Award. You can vote for me or Putty. By the way, before we advance any further, I hope you fuck yourself today.
All right, let's get into the show. You can check out Tucker's Twitter. You can also probably check out a document on my Twitter, which lists all of them.
Or don't check it out. I don't value your opinion anyways. I've got this one in the bag, Putty. You can't bite. You can't bite me. You can bite me. All these people can bite me.
I value your opinion very much, except when it refers to TNA alum. In that case, you can go fuck yourselves. We're so nice to our fans.
I'm nice to my fans. My fans love me.
Show? Sure. Let's start the show.
Let's start the show. It's a big show.
It's the big show. So we have Lenny Leonard and Daniel Bryan who are in front of some sort of like map. It is a map of the United States. Colored in blue is New York City, and colored in nothing is the rest of the United States.
Colored in red is the rest of the United States. They're like the rest of the United States has fallen to this raw.
No, I like to think that there's a circle around New York City, and Bryan starts off by saying, "These are all of the host cities for the King of the Ring qualifiers. It's just New York circled." So we are going to have the King of the Ring 2018 qualifiers, and it begins, ladies and gentlemen, tonight. Tucker, you want to show them the rules?
Yes, I do.
Explosives.
It's all right. Nobody can see.
No. There is a 25-minute time limit in each match, and there are 10 people in the block, right? So everyone in the block will fight everyone else in the block. 2 points for a victory, 1 point for a draw. Nobody gets 1 point each for a draw, and if you lose, you get 0 points. The first and second place will enter the semi-finals in February of the King of the Ring tournament, and third, fourth, and fifth will enter Money in the Bank ladder match at WrestleMania. So let's show them the block.
All right.
Make sure you pick the right block.
There it is.
Nice. So these are the block organized by Seeds. Seeds was decided by a WWE.com popularity poll, as well as their win and loss record in 2017. So
this is clearly wrong, Putty. It's a popularity vote. Anything that these people vote on is wrong. They're all wrong. All of them.
So our opening night includes, and this is in order from lowest on the card to highest on the card, Pentagon Jr., seed 9, taking on Roderick Strong, seed 6, Johnny Gargano, seed 7, taking on Hiroshi Tanahashi, seed 8. Shinsuke Nakamura, the 2nd seed, taking on Matthew Riddle, the 10th seed, in what should be the most one-sided match of the night.
Oh, man.
Saber Jr., 5th seed, taking on Kenny Omega, 4th seed, in the closest match of the night. Well, joint closest with Tana versus Gargano. And Carl Anderson in our main event will take on Rusev. Let's get into it.
Let's do it to it.
Oh, before we get into it, though, we are going to analyze with Tucker Davidson and Lenny Leonard our first match of the night, which is Roderick Strong versus Pentagon Jr. Pentagon Jr. did not compete at Armageddon.
He did not.
But he's had a pretty middling year. You know, he competed in the style battle. He had a good account of himself there. But he's really come up short on a number of occasions. His biggest claim to fame so far has been a victory over Rey Mysterio Jr. at the Great American Bash. What do you think of Pentagon Jr.'s chances in this tournament?
I'm going to be blunt. I'm going to be honest. He's not going to do it. Pentagon, in my opinion, Pentagon is the biggest fish out of water in this tournament because this is a wrestling tournament, not a fighting tournament. You have to stick by the rules here. Pentagon can't just go crazy, grab a flaming table if he feels like it, throw even more gasoline on himself, and toss him and his opponent through it. No, Pentagon has to wrestle. He has to out-wrestle his opponent. I don't think Pentagon can do that from what we've seen. His biggest achievement since coming to SmackDown is a victory over an aging Rey Mysterio Jr., and that's not much. Pentagon Jr. is not... Okay. I'm calling it right now. Pentagon Jr. is going to come dead last in this tournament.
The fans might disagree with you on the value of that Rey Mysterio Jr. win, but I think I agree with your point overall. One thing, though, to not count Pentagon Jr. out is he's got that heart. You know, we looked at him in more detail around Style Battle, and he's had a hard life. He's had a difficult past. He's had to live on his own for a very long time, and he's developed that zero fear, that motto of his. And it's not just a motto. He really has that heart. He really has no fear. He's got nothing to lose. And I think you're right that he might overstep the boundaries a couple times, but I think you can never really count him out. So his opponent tonight is Roderick Strong, the 6th seed, who actually last year we had the WWE champion in this event. This year we do not. But Roderick Strong right now looks to be the only chance of the WWE champion winning this event because he, at Armageddon, beat AJ Styles and booked himself in a triple threat match main event at the Royal Rumble. So it could very well be that Roderick Strong not only is involved in a triple threat at Royal Rumble, but wins the WWE Championship, wins this tournament, and ends up making the Mania main event a triple threat between himself, the World Heavyweight Champion, and the Royal Rumble winner. If all of the stars align, then we could end up seeing a match with both of the champions. And what do you think about that?
I mean, that's a big picture look at things, but there's so many things that have to line up in order for that to happen. You know, I like Roderick, but I just don't see that many things going his way. And regarding his match tonight against Pentagon, you talked earlier about zero fear. Zero fear doesn't mean anything when you're knocked out cold.
So you think Roddy's got the strength advantage here?
He doesn't do the kick, does he, here?
He does a kick. He does some kicks.
Not the sick kick, though, right? Not the...
Maybe he has occasionally busted out a sick kick.
Exactly. He's going to sick kick him into... He's going to sick kick him back to Mexico.
So your prediction for this match is a Roderick Strong victory?
I'm going with a very one-sided Roderick Strong victory, and Pentagon is the fish out of water, like I said.
How far do you see Roderick Strong getting in this tournament as a whole?
It's hard to tell, to be totally honest. You got a lot of good competitors here, but I like Roderick, I'm not going to lie, but I definitely think that the guy who's going to win this whole thing is Shinsuke Nakamura.
Well, that's an early call. We could have talked about that during Shinsuke's match.
I'll touch on that later more. I was just saying, I don't think Roderick has a shot at the first spot. He could easily be the second second seed, though. Second seed? I don't totally know the lingo here. But again,
seed is prior to the tournament. You're talking about second place, which remember, second place still gets you in the semifinals. There's very little difference between first and second, other than first having potentially an easier opponent.
And like I said, though, or was going to say, though, Rusev, of course, is the first seed for a reason. Kenny Omega's also there. Matthew Riddle, who's come out of nowhere, has become such a huge threat. Carl Anderson.
He is the Matthew Riddle, the worst seed in this tournament. Number 10, even below Pentagon Jr. The least experienced in the WWE. One of the least experienced in professional wrestling as a whole. He has been a rising star, I won't deny. 2 nights ago, he took the Undertaker. Look, we'll talk about Riddle later. But I think you've touched enough on Roderick Strong. Let's get into the matchup.
Let's get into this.
So in about that had some good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. Roderick Strong defeated Pentagon Jr. in 9 minutes, 2 seconds with a Gibson driver. So your prediction came true, but I think a good 9-minute match. I think Pentagon Jr. He had a good wrestle here. Did you see anything in this match that really changed your mind on Pentagon Jr.?
Nah. This guy, simply put, he's not a wrestler. He's a thug. He doesn't have it unless he's got a baseball bat, a kendo stick, a flaming chair. Who the hell knows what he could have? But if he doesn't have a weapon, he's a small little man who pretends to be a big guy because he can hit people with things.
Well, I think he showed a lot of heart. So we're getting into our next matchup here. We're getting into this next match here. Our first competitor, Johnny Gargano. He picked up, well, we say a victory at Armageddon, but I don't think there are any winners. Gargano is bound to still be hurt from his matchup. But he's going up against former ace of New Japan Pro Wrestling, Hiroshi Tanahashi, who got busted open really badly on Sunday night in a 20-minute slugging fest. And I think both these lads are going to be very hurt. Neither of them will be 100%. But Gargano, we know he'll do what it takes to win. He doesn't care about anything else other than winning. You know, he's got that heart, and we've had matches with Tanahashi and Gargano before. They had a hardcore match at the start of this year, and Tanahashi was the man who came up with the victory on that day. What do you think the result's going to be here tonight?
As we were talking about, we're talking about the two men. I heard the initial call for the matchup, not even taking into account the previous matches that they've been through just 2 nights ago at Armageddon. My thoughts were definitely that I feel like Johnny Gargano is going to have this one. And the more and more I think about what hell Tanahashi's gone through this past couple weeks, and you know how highly I think of Shinsuke Nakamura. I think he's going to be the first seed in this tournament at the end of the day. I do think even more so with that in mind that Johnny Gargano has got this. The man has the winning mentality. He's an ice cold killer, a psycho killer, not a psycho killer.
That's his former tag team partner.
My bad. I confuse the two sometimes. They look so alike. But this man is stone cold. This man is ice cold, and he knows how to finish. Good year.
All right, let's get into it. So in about that had good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. Johnny Gargano defeated Hiroshi Tanahashi in 15 minutes and 17 seconds by submission with the Gargano escape after blatantly cheating. So during this match, we saw Gargano feigning injury on the outside. The ref stopped the count. He went out there to check on Gargano, and Tana's like, come on, man, it's been like 15 seconds. So Tana gets out there so he can check on Gargano. Gargano sucker punches him. Rolls him back into the ring. Tana, he just gave up that killer instinct for 1 second, and he came up short here. Good effort from both men, though, but Gargano with the win.
Like I said from Gargano, winning mentality.
How far do you see Gargano going in this tournament?
He could very well be the second seed as well. To be totally honest, for me...
It's not seed, just to remind you.
What is it then?
Lenny. Second place.
Place? Are we going with place? All right. So, in my opinion, Shinsuke Nakamura has a lock on the first place. The battle is for the second place.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so well, we won't talk too much about this next matchup then, because you seem to have a little bit sussed up in your mind. But remember, both these men, Shinsuke Nakamura and Matthew Riddle. Shinsuke Nakamura came out with a victory last 2 nights ago. Now remember that Tanahashi did go into a first blood match with an exploitable weakness, but you can't deny the quality of Shinsuke Nakamura going 20 minutes with such an incredible competitor and coming out with a victory. Matthew Riddle took The Undertaker to his limit at Armageddon. Did come up with a loss, though. Again, this is second seed versus 10th seed. We won't spend too much time analyzing this because this should be one-sided. Let's get right into it.
I've just got one thing to say.
Put up a good display.
I've just got one thing to say beforehand. I'm taking I'm taking Shinsuke in this one, and it's because of the momentum.
Yeah.
Shinsuke did just pick up a win, and Riddle lost to The Undertaker. Yeah. He took him to his limit. One time that's very impressive. The exact same time, though, he's got to be tired. So
yeah, well, I think both these men are going to be tired after their brutal matches at Armageddon. But like we said, hopefully Riddle can put up a good display here. It's one of the most one-sided matches of the tournament.
Here we go.
In terms of seeds, yeah. So in about that had great wrestling and good heat. Matthew Riddle defeated Shinsuke Nakamura in 19 minutes and 7 seconds by submission with a bro mission. Possibly going to be one of the biggest upsets in the tournament.
Yeah, it's an upset, like you said.
It's a huge upset. It is the 10th seed beating the 2nd seed. The bookies wouldn't have given you odds on this. They wouldn't have given you odds on this. It's a huge upset for Matthew Riddle. I mean, we said beforehand that he is a rising star. You know, the seeds can only predict based on past form. He hasn't had a lot of experience, but maybe this kid's got everything it takes. Maybe the seeds were wrong. Maybe this lad's right up there. What do you think?
To be totally honest, I'm keeping my pick, my number one place, Shinsuke. I think, you know, Shinsuke. I'm not gonna lie, Shinsuke's a confident dude, but maybe in this situation he was overconfident facing the 10th seed. Like I've said, Matthew Riddle is nothing to, you know, blow off. I would definitely say if you want to blow off anybody in this tournament, it's Pentagon Jr. But Shinsuke beat himself in this. I don't see it as a big win.
You're not giving any credit for Riddle here? I think this was a really strong performance.
I give him credit. Of course, he went 20 minutes, definitely meaning that Nakamura gave him a fight. But I definitely feel like Nakamura psyched himself out, you know, took it too easy. And if these two end up fighting again down the line, Nakamura's going to pick up the victory.
Could see a different result. Yeah, okay. All right, well, we have an intermission coming up next. We are about halfway through the show, 3 of the 5 matches next, so let's move on. So Lenny Leonard and Daniel Bryan just announced that we have an intermission. There may be some angles on the Titantron, but there are going to be no more matches for the next 15 or so minutes, so you folks in the crowd can go leave and get your snacks.
Excellent.
Yeah, and then so we got a video where Kevin Owens is kind of wandering around Toronto, or Montreal. My apologies. And he's very distraught. It's snowing.
Sound of Silence plays in the background.
So he's making angels in the snow, and then he's like kicking the angels and stuff, and he's building a snowman with children, and then he pushes over the snowman.
He's the Antichrist.
He's the Antichrist of Montreal. Those mean streets.
The Antichrist of winter activities.
Winter activities. Kevin Owens is not happy, but he's enjoying his suspension seemingly by torturing little kids.
That's what I do in my free time. Oh shit.
That's why I had to edit you out of last week's SmackDown.
Yep.
So Alexa Bliss has an interview where she says, you know, Becky, I beat you. Fair and square, middle of the ring. Beat you. No, yes, it was the middle of the ring where you were down on the floor as I was the last woman standing. That's it for you, Becky. No more coming back. No more rematches. No more chances. You're not the ace anymore, Becky. I am. I proved to you, just like I've been saying all the way since summer, that everything that you faced before me was just a joke, and that SmackDown has the greatest women's division in the world, and I now stand at the top of it. The ace. The greatest woman in the greatest women's division, in the greatest promotion in the world. I'm the best in the world, and no one's going to come and topple me. Not you, not Bayley, not Aja Kong, not Summer Rae, no one. And then Joe's like, you know, Zach, you challenged me at Armageddon, and you know I like a challenge, and you have been on a good run. You know, you could say you've been on your road to redemption. I could accept that, but let's not get too hasty, Zach. Let's see how you do tonight. You got Kenny Omega, big guy. I beat him in the title match at Armageddon. I pumped him full of my Super SmackDown Samoan semen. And if you can beat Omega tonight, I think that's a free pass. If you can beat Omega tonight, that's an instant Intercontinental title shot at the Rumble. So now we have Lenny Leonard comes out. He does the introductions. He says, on my left, he is the cleaner. He is a former G1 Climax winner. The only Gaijin in history to do that. Kenny Omega. On my right, we have a man who has competed in many tournaments throughout the world. He's world traveled. He's competed in the Super SmackDown style battle. He is Zack Sabre Jr. So, Tucker, we have Seed 4 versus Seed 5, and Zack Sabre Jr. has been on a run, has been on a roll. If he doesn't pick up the win here, is that an end to his road to redemption, or is that like a bump on the road? Is he on a road to redemption?
I think with Sabre Jr., I don't think him losing tonight should be the thing we're focusing on, because Sabre Jr., like you've said, has been on this run. He's been on this roll. Yeah. He's picking up victory after victory after victory.
The big show.
The momentum the confidence. Like I said, he's got to not get overconfident though, and I'm sure he's not taking Kenny Omega.
Well, he has pinned Kenny Omega in many multiple man matches this year. He pinned Kenny Omega inside War Games, or he made him tap out. He did pin Kenny Omega. He was the last man to get pinned at Survivor Series. It seems this year that that Saber Jr. has Omega's number. And if he wins tonight, he's got an IC title shot.
Yeah, that's another thing I was going to touch on. I'm sure he's not taking him. I'm sure he's not overlooking him. Or at least I hope he wouldn't be. I hope Samoa Joe's challenge doesn't make Saber Jr. Look over Omega, but allows him to focus on Omega. Drives him that little bit further. And I think that's why Zack Sabre Jr. is going to be taking this one tonight.
All right, well, let's get into it. Our semi-main event of the evening.
Oh, no.
So in a superb match, Kenny Omega defeats Zack Sabre Jr. in 1816 by pinfall with a one-winged angel. This is a very back-and-forth match. They're trading some heavy blows throughout the match. But Kenny just hits him with that one-winged angel. He caught him at the turnbuckle, just slipped off for 1 second, and big impact move. And Sabre loses. Big detriment to Sabre, you think? Overall?
Yeah, definitely.
So you're at a loss for words.
It's shocking.
It's a nasty time to take a loss for him because it's like right before you hit that main event stride of that momentum.
Oh yeah, if he had won this and went into the Intercontinental title match against Samoa Joe, there was a very easy to make argument for Zack Sabre Jr. winning.
But now he doesn't even have a title shot.
Exactly. Now he's not even in the conversation anymore.
So, and that's something that's it's clearly important to him that he corrects that wrong. And now he's got to work hard to get there. He's got to work hard to even get anywhere in this tournament. But for Omega, who is, of course, a hugely decorated competitor going into this tournament, this is not a win that cements him. He was a higher seed than Zack Sabre Jr. This was the favorite thing to happen. This was the odds-on favorite thing to happen. And he was the only Gaijin to ever win the G1 Climax. He's a hugely dangerous competitor, and although he hasn't quite hit his stride on SmackDown, people have got to be wary of Kenny Omega.
Something else that you got to think about. As much as you said this was the expected result, Zack Sabre Jr. was just given a number one contendership for the Intercontinental Championship. Does that put Kenny Omega? You have to think it puts him in some. It definitely raises him in the ranks somehow.
Well, you've got the two kind of competing opportunities where Sabre was going to get a title shot, but remember that Kenny literally had a title shot 2 days ago.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah, and he lost, but it was a close match. And if it was literally Sabre and Kenny in the contendership, then you got to think that Kenny's number one. So who knows? But maybe there are other contenders. We'll have to find out. There's not a lot of time in these King of the Ring weeks for contendership, but there's a lot of guys who aren't in this tournament. A lot of guys who could be competing for that title. There's not a lot of spots at Royal Rumble either. So
it's true. What do we got up next?
Well, up next we have the introductions. Or we don't have a match up next.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have a small interview segment from one of our main eventers.
I see.
As Carl Anderson's backstage and he says, Rusev, you are the number one seed and you deserve it. You've had a hell of a year. You beat Shinsuke Nakamura on a pay-per-view. Big deal. Shinsuke lost earlier tonight. And the guy who beat him, I bet he's going to have a upward trajectory from here on out because I know for a fact that your win over Shinsuke at No Mercy was a big deal. You've been on a hell of a run since you came back here to SmackDown. It's been impressive. But, I was the first Gaijin to get to the G1 Climax finals in 2014. I am a proven tournament competitor. You take me over 10 weeks, over 20 days. You take me in a condensed situation. I can hit a gun stun from anywhere. I'm a dangerous competitor. And, I'm not banking on myself to win tonight. I'd like to. I think I can. But trust me, over 10 weeks, you will know the name Carl Anderson. Machine Gun.
Machine Gun Ka?
So, introduces the Machine Gun Carl Anderson and the Bulgarian Brute Rusev for our main event. What do you think? The Seed 3 versus Seed 1, one of the money matchups of this tournament.
This is probably the toughest one to call tonight, as it should be. I think, though, I'm going to lean in the corner of Alexander Rusev.
No tournament experience in his professional wrestling career. That's one thing. That's the one black mark against his name. is there are a lot of guys in this tournament who had either competed in Japan, in the UK, or even here on SmackDown in things like the Style Battle, previous King of the Rings, stuff like that. But Rusev, throughout all of his career, he wasn't here last year. He was on Raw for the King of the Ring. I don't think he was part of those qualifications. So very, very little or no tournament experience for Rusev. Is that going to be a black mark against him, or is it just pure wrestling is going to overcome?
I think it's definitely something that you have to think about in this situation, but this, of course, is the very first match of the tournament. It's not. This is not a big.
There's no fatigue.
Yeah, we're not later on where fatigue would set in, and maybe that would benefit somebody like Carl Anderson in the situation, who's been in plenty of tournaments over his career.
Honestly, probably the best tournament worker in the world, Carl Anderson. Like when the fatigue sets in, like he said, he can hit the gun stun from anywhere. Doesn't matter whether he's on two legs or zero. If you're on week 1 or week 7, if he hits that gun stun, it's over.
Definitely, but this is the very first match.
Yeah.
I think the tournament argument, at least to me, at least my thoughts on this right now, it's not something that's going to matter. It's not an effective argument in my mind tonight. Yes.
Yeah. And the other, maybe it's even an argument to the opposite, because maybe a guy like Carl, he gets that success through pacing himself.
Very true.
Right? Maybe tonight he's, like he said, he's not banking on himself winning. Maybe he knows, if this goes 12, 14 minutes, maybe even less, he's got the energy in the tank. But if this is a 25-minute draw, he's already lost a lot of his stamina. So he's pacing himself, and he's prepared for not perhaps going all out. Whereas Rusev, with that lack of tournament experience, maybe he's just going to go crazy on Carl tonight, and maybe that'll hurt him in the long run, but maybe it's going to win him the match.
And here we go.
The main event of the evening. In a superb match, Rusev defeated Carl Anderson in 22 minutes and 40 seconds.
Jesus.
With a power bomb. That is a long tournament match. That's a long term, but Rusev does pick up the win.
I have to question Carl Anderson's tactics here, because, like you said, if he thought, if he maybe thought he didn't need to win this one, why would he not have?
Well, I think if you look at it, especially towards the end of those teens, where he knew he couldn't put Rusev away early. He knew that, and I think what he started to realize as the match went on, and with we had the Doc Gallows interference, of course, that Rusev was able to overcome, and but once that was over, Carl knew that his tactics had failed, and he wasn't planning to go all out in this match, as we talked about before. I think what he was looking to do was maybe to get that point. He knew Rusev was dangerous. He was the first seed. Maybe Carl was looking for that 25-minute draw just to get a point out of the match, walk away with something. But Rusev just too strong for him tonight. Should we take a look at the scoreboard after one night?
We shall.
Obviously, you don't see a lot early on, but the winners are at the top and the losers are at the bottom.
What did I say?
Go ahead.
What did I say? What did I say right here?
Yep, Pentagon Jr. currently at the bottom. I think the big thing to point out, though, the big surprise, seeds 2 and 3, below the red line, below the Money in the Bank places.
Well, we definitely knew at least the first seed or the third seed were going to be below there. So seeing Anderson there isn't a surprise.
No.
Nakamura, though, is a big surprise.
Big surprise.
But I think he's going to rebound. I definitely feel that. Shinsuke Nakamura has always been...
fixtures. Next week, Shinsuke Nakamura is in the main event.
Oh.
And he will be taking on long-term rival Hiroshi Tanahashi. Also on next week's card, Rusev takes on Saber Jr.
Ooh.
Johnny Gargano takes on Kenny Omega.
Oh, wow.
Carl Anderson gets a free week against Pentagon Jr. And Matthew Riddle is looking to continue his momentum as he takes on fellow winner Roderick Strong.
Ooh.
What are you looking at for those matches? Obviously, you're looking at Shinsuke bouncing back. He's got 8th seed Hiroshi Tanahashi. Shinsuke's had his number so far. It's that's got to be a Shinsuke.
Carl was the one facing Pentagon, right?
Yeah, correct.
All right, so Carl Anderson moves to 1-1 in the tournament, or 1-0-1.
You'd have to expect, right? You'd have to expect.
Pentagon's not going to win a match this tournament.
That's a bold prediction.
Actually, breaking character for a split second, knowing you, Pentagon will win maybe one match. Everybody gets lucky.
Yeah. Maybe one, maybe two.
No. Not 2.
Not 2, okay.
If Pentagon Jr. wins 2, I need to have a serious talk with the rest of the SmackDown roster about what the hell is wrong with them.
Okay, so you can see the roster right now. I want you, and I know it's difficult, and if it'll take you a while, then just say no, and we can do it next week. But can you right now? I know it's early. Can you predict an order?
Shinsuke Nakamura 1.
Now, you've been toiling about this 2 all night. You've had a couple candidates.
This 2, it's a fight, in my opinion, between...
It's a big one, the 2, because that gets you into the semifinals, the chance at getting a main event slot of some sort at WrestleMania.
The 2 seed, it's surprising how many people this is going to be between, but in my opinion, the 2 seed, or not the 2 seed, excuse me, the second place spot is in between Kenny Omega, Roderick Strong, Johnny Gargano, Matthew Riddle, Carl Anderson, and Zack Sabre Jr.
It certainly is between all of the people in the tournament, yes.
No, not these 2. Not these. I just feel like Tana doesn't have it anymore. He lost to Nakamura.
He did lose to Nakamura.
Nakamura has beaten him. He's going to beat him again next week. Tana's hurt. Tana's going through this entire tournament injured.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, is that we forgot to mention this earlier, is that Tana did come in, and we've had Tana's come into tournaments before with arm problems and leg problems, but that was when he was a younger man. He's coming in with probable concussions.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely stitches in his head that have already, like, we didn't see them come loose tonight.
You can exploit that,
We saw them come loose 2 days ago. Yeah, and we know that those went into his head last Tuesday. They weren't healed by Armageddon. They probably won't be healed by next week because they were reopened at Armageddon, and they certainly didn't have a night off tonight.
Oh yeah,
with
Gargano. I'm sure Gargano was ripping away at them, at least a little bit, trying to get in the head of Nakamura, or no, excuse me, not Nakamura, Tanahashi, of course.
Well, trying to literally physically get into the head.
Exactly. Gargano has the winning mentality.
So you think Gargano going to pick up the win next week against Omega? That's a big match.
I definitely think Gargano is going to take that one.
That would be a big one for Gargano, and I think a big one for Omega. Do you think Gargano, a win next week, could possibly put him within contention for an IC title match? Going back to our earlier point.
Man, definitely. Like this tournament and stuff, it has...
There's a lot of
Samoa Joe
taking.
placing this on Zack Sabre Jr. and Zack Sabre Jr. not winning tonight creates...
Do you think that Samoa Joe placing that on Zack Sabre Jr. led to the loss? Do you think it was the pressure? Do you think that had an impact?
I definitely, like I said earlier, I definitely think that it caused, and it's something that I hoped he didn't do, which I think he ended up doing, is I think he overlooked Kenny Omega. He was too focused on, okay, once this happens, then I got to face Samoa Joe. How do I game plan for Samoa Joe? And he wasn't paying attention to Omega right in front of him.
No, I take an opposite approach. I don't think that's how Zack's mind works. I think he was nervous. I think it was the pressure. We know Zack's never held gold here.
That's true.
Zack has never been to that pinnacle. He's never held world level gold anywhere. He's not like Kenny Omega, right? Who's won an Intercontinental Championship in Japan. Who's been at that pinnacle. He main evented Tokyo Dome this year, right? Like a year ago, like in 2017, he main evented the Tokyo Dome. And he's got that pressure handling ability. Zack, I'm not sure he does.
Something I'm definitely interested in. I was going to touch on before. Samoa Joe placing this number one contendership thing. It's an opportunity, I guess, for Zack Sabre Jr. in this, and Zack Sabre Jr. losing, and now being on Kenny Omega, and say Gargano beats Omega. Whoever beats Gargano could very well get that. Samoa Joe has created this, and I think he's created a bad scenario for himself where he will not have the premier time to game plan for whoever he has to face at the Royal Rumble. Because I have to think
he might not be facing it.
That's true. That's true. It's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee, but I have to think at least like whoever does end up with this, like, I don't want to call it the number one contendership because it's not, but you have to think it helps them to some degree. And if they win a couple more matches in this tournament, get on a streak at some point, beat whoever that is, beat a few other guys, beat maybe a couple higher tier guys, higher place guys, you have to think that puts them in a position to possibly get that title.
Well, as a bit of a final point, I would like to put out there that it's also worth considering that for some guys in this tournament, with no due respect, with all due respect to Samoa Joe, as a final point, right? All due respect to Samoa Joe, you have to feel there are some guys in this tournament who, if they get momentum going, they're not looking at Samoa Joe, they're looking at Sami Zayn.
Oh yeah, there's people. The name that instantly comes.
Shinsuke comes to mind.
Shinsuke comes to mind because he's held that belt.
He's been
done
there.
it
He's
before.
done that. Yeah.
He beat Samoa Joe. Did he not?
When
he was Intercontinental Champion?
Ooh, I don't think so. But it's a while ago now.
I swear he did at least once. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. My bad. But I'm sure he's beaten him on one-on-one competition before. And Nakamura has held that belt before.
He has held that belt. He was a great champion.
He was a great champion, and he's only looking forward. He's not going to go back now. Especially when he beat Hiroshi Tanahashi at a pay-per-view like just 2 days ago. If he gets into a position this tournament, a high position, you definitely have to think he'd be looking at the World Championship and Sami Zayn.
It's interesting to note that Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe's only singles match took place during King of the Ring last year. Shinsuke Nakamura did win. That was during King of the Ring last year. So we know that stars are made in this tournament. Also, one thing I wanted to mention at the start of the show that I forgot, and this will be the actual final point, we'll end after this, is that the top 5 from last year's tournament, the guys who finished in the placement places. Number 1, Antonio Cesaro, current World Heavyweight Champion. Number 2, John Cena. No explanation needed. And then the following 3 were Samoa Joe, current Intercontinental Champion, Roman Reigns, current WWE World Heavyweight Tag Team Champion.
World Heavyweight Tag Team?
World Heavyweight Tag Team Champion. And Sami Zayn, WWE Champion. Both the WWE Champion and World Heavyweight Champion, Intercontinental Champion, and World Tag Team Champion were in the top 5 of King of the Ring SmackDown qualifiers last year. And the other guy in that conversation was John Cena. It's a good group of people to be into.
Yeah, like this tournament, like just looking at that, this tournament breeds stars. But not just stars.
You have to be tough to compete.
Superstars like that.
Have to be tough to compete.
Like those guys that you just mentioned there. They're the best of the best. Like
that's where Cesaro, like the groundswell we saw from Cesaro last year. That's where it started. The guy who won the tournament last year, Brock Lesnar, one of the greatest combat athletes in the history of the sport. It's a great tournament. It's an important tournament. I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of it. We listed the fixtures before. Thank you all for watching. And Van, see you next week.